Mr. Nosy liked to know about everything that was going on. He was always poking his nose into other people's business. Mr. Nosy was the sort of person who, if he came upon a locked door, couldn't resist looking through the keyhole to see why the door had been locked. Mr. Nosy was the sort of person who, if he found an unopened letter addressed to somebody else, would simply have to open it to find out what was inside. Mr. Nosy was the sort of person who, if he was sitting reading his paper on a train, would much rather read the paper of the person sitting next to him. Naturally, as you might well imagine, Mr. Nosy was not very popular. People did not like the way in which Mr. Nosy would peek and pry into their affairs. They did not like it at all. But did that stop Mr. Nosy peeking and prying? It did not. Mr. Nosy lived in a funny, tall, thin house in a place called Tittletown. The people of Tittletown decided that Mr. Nosy was becoming much too nosy. And so they held a meeting to discuss what to do about him.
We must find some way of stopping his being so nosy,
said old Mr. Chips, the town carpenter. That's right, said Mrs. Washer, who ran the Tittletown laundry. He needs to be taught a lesson. If only we could think of a way to stop him poking his nose into everything, said Mr. Brush, the painter. And then a small smile spread over his face. Listen, he said, grinning. I have a plan. All his friends gathered round to listen to his plan. The following morning, Mr. Nosy was out walking along Tittletown High Street when he heard somebody whistling behind one of the closed doors. I wonder what's going on here, he thought to himself, and tiptoeing up to the door, he quietly opened it and peeped in. Splash went a very wet paintbrush right on the end of Mr. Nosy's nose, covering it with bright red paint. Oh, dear. I am so sorry, said Mr. Brush, who was painting the inside of the door. Poor Mr. Nosy had to go straight home and try to remove the red paint, which was very difficult and rather painful. Mr. Brush chuckled to himself. The plan had begun. The following day, Mr. Nosy was walking past the laundry when he heard someone laughing on the other side of the wall. I wonder what's going on here, he thought to himself. And, standing on tiptoe, he looked over the wall. Snap! Went a clothes peg right on the end of Mr. Nosy's nose. Oh, dear. Oh, I am sorry, said Mrs. Washer, who was hanging up clothes on a washing line on the other side of the wall. Poor Mr. Nosy removed the clothes peg and went off down the street feeling extremely sorry for himself and for his poor red nose. Mrs. Washer chuckled to herself. The plan was working. The next day, Mr. Nosy was going past a fence when he heard hammering. I wonder what's going on here, he thought to himself. Creeping very quietly to the end of the fence, he peeped round. Bang! Went a hammer right on the end of Mr. Nosy's nose. Oh dear. Oh, I am sorry, said old Mr. Chips, who was nailing up a loose plank in the fence. Poor Mr. Nosy had to go home immediately and bandage his poor red sore nose. Mr. Chips grinned a broad grin. The plan was working very well indeed. The following day, Mr. Nosy was walking in the woods when he heard someone sawing wood. I wonder what's going on here, he thought to himself, and crept up behind a tree. He was just about to peer out from behind the tree when it suddenly occurred to him that if he did, something very nasty might happen to his nose. And so he went on his way without being nosy. Behind the tree, with a saw raised in his hand, stood Mr. Hurd, the farmer. When he saw that Mr. Nosy had gone on his way without being nosy, he laughed and laughed and laughed. The plan had worked. Mr. Hurd hurried off into Tittletown to tell everybody. The plan really had worked, because after that Mr. Nosy stopped being nosy and soon became very good friends with everybody in Tittletown. And that really is the end of the story, except to say that if you were ever tempted to be as nosy as Mr. Nosy used to be, you'd better expect one thing, a very sore nose. This is the story of Mr. Strong. Mr. Strong is the strongest person in the whole wide world. The strongest person that ever has been, and probably the strongest person that ever will be. He is so strong that he can not only bend an iron bar with his bare hands, he can tie knots in it. Mr. Strong is so strong, he can throw a cannonball as far as you or I can throw a tennis ball. Mr. Strong is so strong he can hammer nails into a wall just by tapping them with his finger. Strong by name and strong by nature. And would you like to know the secret of Mr. Strong's strength? Eggs. The more eggs Mr. Strong eats, the stronger he becomes. Stronger and stronger and stronger. Anyway, this story is about a funny thing that happened to Mr. Strong one day. That morning he was having breakfast. And for breakfast he was having eggs. Followed by eggs. And to finish he was having, guess what? That's right, eggs. That was Mr. Strong's normal breakfast. After his eggy breakfast, Mr. Strong cleaned his teeth. And as usual, he squeezed all the toothpaste out of the tube. And, as usual, he cleaned his teeth so hard, he broke his toothbrush. Mr. Strong gets through a lot of toothpaste and toothbrushes. After that, he decided to take a walk. Put on his hat, opened the front door of his house. What a beautiful day, he thought to himself. And stepping outside his house, he shut the front door. The door fell off its hinges. Mr. Strong gets through a lot of front doors. Then Mr. Strong went for his walk. He walked through the woods. But he wasn't looking where he was going. And walked slap bang into a huge tree. The huge tree trunk snapped, and the tree thundered to the ground. Whoops, said Mr. Strong. he walked into town. And again, not looking where he was going, he walked slap bang straight to a brick wall. And Mr. Strong, being Mr. Strong, walked straight through that brick wall. Whoops, said Mr. Strong. Eventually, Mr. Strong walked through the town and out into the country, to a farm. The farmer met him in the road, looking very worried. "What's the matter?" asked Mr. Strong. It's my cornfield. It's on fire and I can't put it out." Mr. Strong looked over the hedge and sure enough, the cornfield was blazing fiercely. "Water," said Mr. Strong. "We must get water to put out the fire." "But I don't have enough water to put the whole field out," cried the worried farmer. "And the nearest water's down to the river, and I don't have a pump." "Then we'll have to find something to carry the water," replied Mr. Strong. "Is that your barn?" he asked, pointing to a barn in another field. "Yes, I was going to put my corn in it," said the farmer. "But—" "Can I use it?" asked Mr. Strong. "Yes, but—" "No buts. Come on." Mr. Strong walked over to the barn, and do you know what he did? He picked it up. He actually picked up the barn. The farmer couldn't believe his eyes. Then Mr. Strong carried the barn above his head down to the river, and he turned the barn upside down. Then he lowered it into the river so that it filled up with water. Then, and this shows how strong Mr. Strong really is, he picked it up and carried it back to the blazing cornfield. Mr. Strong emptied the upside-down barn full of water over the flame. Sizzle, sizzle, sputter, sputter. 1 minute, the flames were leaping in the air. The next minute, they'd gone. "However can I thank you?" the farmer asked Mr. Strong. "Oh, there's nothing," remarked Mr. Strong modestly. "But I must find some way to reward you," said the farmer. "Well," said Mr. Strong, "you're a farmer, so you must keep chickens." "Yes, I do," said the farmer. "Lots." "And chickens lay eggs," went on Mr. Strong. "And I rather like eggs." "Then you shall have as many eggs as you can carry," said the farmer, and took Mr. Strong over to the farmyard. Mr. Strong said goodbye to the farmer and thanked him for the eggs, and the farmer thanked him for helping. Then Mr. Strong, just using one finger, picked up the eggs and went home. Mr. Strong put the eggs carefully down on his kitchen table and went to close the kitchen door. The door fell off its hinges. "Whoops," said Mr. Strong, and sat down. The chair fell to bits. "Whoops," said Mr. Strong, and started cooking his lunch. And for lunch, he was starting with eggs, followed by an egg or two. You had an egg between eggs, and an egg on the side, and an egg for luck, and then eggs. And then for his pudding, he was having, well, can you guess? For his pudding, he was having ice cream. Mr. Topsy-Turvy was a funny sort of fellow. Everything about him was either upside down or inside out, back to front, topsy-turvy, in fact. It was all very extraordinary. To give you some idea of how topsy-turvy Mr. Topsy-Turvy was, you ought to see his house. The front door is upside down to start with, and the curtains hang upside down at the windows. And just look at that chimney pot. All very extraordinary. Inside is the same. Just look at that clock standing on Mr. Topsy-Turvy's mantelpiece. Isn't that the topsy-turviest clock you've ever seen? And just look at the way Mr. Topsy-Turvy reads a book. Not only does he read it upside down, but he starts to read it at the back page. And just look where Mr. Topsy-Turvy puts the stamp when he sends a letter to somebody. Have you ever seen anything like it? Now, this story is all about the time Mr. Topsy-Turvy came to the town where you and I live. Nobody's quite sure how Mr. Topsy-Turvy got there or where he came from. But he did arrive because somebody saw him getting off the train. The trouble was, he did it in a topsy-turvy way. Which really isn't all that surprising, is it? Mr. Topsy-Turvy went to a hotel to find a room to spend the night. The hotel manager tried not to smile when he saw Mr. Topsy-Turvy walk into his hotel carrying his suitcase upside down and with his topsy-turvy hat on his head. "Good afternoon, sir," he said. "Can I help you?" Now, something you didn't know about Mr. Topsy-Turvy is the way he speaks. You see, he sometimes gets things the wrong way round. "Afternoon, good," said Mr. Topsy-Turvy to the hotel manager. I'd room alike." The manager scratched his head. "You mean you'd like a room?" he asked. "Please, yes," replied Mr. Topsy-Turvy. Eventually, the hotel manager managed to work out what Mr. Topsy-Turvy was talking about, and he was taken up in the lift to a bedroom. Then Mr. Topsy-Turvy unpacked his suitcase, put on his pyjamas, and went to bed. He was rather tired after travelling from wherever he'd come from. The following day, Mr. Topsy-Turvy went round the town. But what a fuss his going round the town caused. He took a taxi from the hotel, but so confused the taxi driver trying to tell him where he wanted to go, the poor man drove straight into a traffic light. "Oh, dear," said Mr. Topsy-Turvy. "I am sorry, very." Then he went into a big department store in the middle of the town. Walked up to one of the counters. "I'd like a sock of pears," he said to the lady behind the counter. "You mean a pair of socks?" she smiled, and showed him a pair of bright red socks. Mr. Topsy-Turvy put them on his hands. Then he tried to leave. But being Mr. Topsy-Turvy, he tried to walk down the up escalator, and all the people who were going up the up escalator all fell over themselves. Oh, it was a terrible topsy-turvy jumble. That day, Mr. Topsy-Turvy did all sorts of topsy-turvy things. Then he went to an art gallery and insisted on hanging all the pictures upside down so that he could look at them properly. And then After Mr. Topsy-Turvy had been in the town for just one day, he disappeared. Nobody knew how he went or where he went, but he certainly went because he wasn't there anymore. The whole town breathed a sigh of relief. But what the town discovered, even though Mr. Topsy-Turvy had left, was that everything was still topsy-turvy. "Read all it about," shouted the newspaper sellers. Instead of shouting, "Read all about it." "News is the here," said the television newsreader, instead of saying, "Here is the news." "Morning good," people started saying to each other when they met him. "Do you how?" instead of "How do you do?" Everybody was talking topsy-turvy. Now, can you think of something to say that's topsy-turvy? Try on, go. I mean, go on, try. Mr. Uppety was one of the rudest people in the world, if not the rudest. He was rude to anybody and everybody. So, of course, in Big Town, which is where he lived, he had no friends at all. Not one. "Miserable old Uppety," they used to call him, and he certainly looked it. Now, as well as being rude, Mr. Uppety was also rich. Very rich. One of the richest people in the world, if not the richest. He had the largest, longest limousine in Big Town. He had the largest, longest garden in Big Town. He had, on the top of a hill in the middle of Big Town, the most enormous house. The biggest house in Big Town. And there he lived, all alone. Miserable old Uppety. One day, Mr. Uppety was walking in the gardens of his enormous house, when suddenly he heard a voice. "Hello," said the voice. Mr. Uppety looked, and there, in one of his hundreds of flower beds, was a goblin. "Are you not going to say hello to me?" said the goblin. "Go away," said Mr. Uppety rudely. "Oh, I know who you must be," said the goblin. "You must be Mr. Uppety, who's rude to everybody." Sniffed Mr. Uppety rudely. "Well, I know somebody who wants to meet you," said the goblin, and he skipped off, the way goblins do. Mr. Uppety's curiosity got the better of him. He followed. "In there," said the goblin, pointing at a small hole in a tree. "Don't be silly," snorted Mr. Uppety. Oh, I'm not being silly," said the goblin. "Yes, you are," snapped Mr. Uppety. "I can't possibly get in there." "Aha!" smiled the goblin. And then he said a magic word, known only to goblins, which sounded like wobbling, something like that. Suddenly, Mr. Uppety started shrinking. He shrank and he shrank until he was exactly the same size as the goblin. "Turn me back to my proper size at once," spluttered Mr. Uppety in a rage. "I shan't," grinned the goblin. And so saying, the goblin climbed through the hole into the tree. Poor Mr. Uppety didn't know what to do, so he followed him. Inside the tree, there was a staircase going down and down. It led directly to the kingdom of the goblins. "I demand to be taken immediately to whoever is in charge," said Mr. Uppety angrily. "Oh, you shall.
So you shall,
grinned the Goblin. And he led Mr. Uppety through the streets of the kingdom of the goblins until they came to a palace. The Goblin and Mr. Uppety passed through the gates and into a courtyard and through some more gates and along a long corridor and through some large gold doors and into a huge room. And there, sitting on a gold throne, was the king of the goblins.
Your Majesty,
Announced the Goblin, bowing low.
may I present Mr. Uppety?
Ah, said the king. So you're the fellow who goes about being rude to everybody, doesn't have any friends. Rubbish, said Mr. Uppety rudely. I can see that what I have heard is true, said the king, looking at the indignant Mr. Uppety. You're much too puffed up with your own importance. Therefore, he continued, I'm going to allow you to be turned back to your proper size. But when you get back to Big Town, if you're rude to anybody at all, you will immediately shrink to the size you are now. Do you understand? The Goblin then took Mr. Uppety back through the kingdom of the goblins and up the staircase and out of the tree at the bottom of Mr. Uppety's garden. The Goblin looked at Mr. Uppety and said something which sounded like "Coogly-Wiggle-Wiggle," and Mr. Uppety grew and grew back to his original size.
Now, you remember what the king said,
warned the Goblin.
Don't you be so uppity in future.
Mr. Uppety marched off furiously up to his enormous house. The following day, Mr. Uppety was out walking through the streets of Big Town. Suddenly, he came across a little boy playing with a ball. Get out of my way, snapped Mr. Uppety rudely. But as soon as he'd said it, you know what happened, don't you? Yes, Mr. Uppety shrank and shrank until he was no bigger than the ball the boy was playing with. Oh, dear, he gasped, and then he thought. I'm sorry, he said to the boy. What I meant to say was, please could I get past? Immediately, Mr. Uppety grew to his original size, and the boy moved, and Mr. Uppety went on his way. Then he met an old lady carrying a large shopping basket. Excuse me, she said to Mr. Uppety. Could you tell me the time, please? No, said Mr. Uppety rudely. But as soon as he'd said it, you know what happened, don't you? Oh, dear, he gasped, and then he thought. I'm sorry, he said to the old lady. What I meant to say was, it's 11:25. Immediately, Mr. Uppety grew to his original size, and the old lady thanked him, and Mr. Uppety went on his way. Then he went and bought a newspaper from a man standing on the corner of the main street in Big Town. He was just about to walk away when suddenly he stopped and thought, turned back to the man and said, Thank you. Thank you was a word Mr. Uppety had never used before. The man smiled. A smile was something Mr. Uppety wasn't used to getting. Thank you was a word Mr. Uppety not only had never used before, but it was a word he'd never had said to him before. Mr. Uppety smiled. He felt happy. Happy was a feeling Mr. Uppety wasn't used to feeling. He liked it. And do you know, from that day forward to this day backward, Mr. Uppety is a changed person. He's still the richest person in Big Town, perhaps the richest person in the world. But now he has lots of friends, and he smiles a lot, and he never gets that shrinking feeling. And do you know which two words Mr. Uppety uses most of all these days? Please and thank you. Poor Mr. Worry. Whatever happened, he worried about it. If it rained, he worried that his roof was going to leak. If it didn't rain, he worried that all the plants in his garden were going to die. If he set off shopping, he worried that the shops would be shut when he got there. And when the shops weren't shut when he got there, he worried that he was spending too much money shopping. When he got home with his shopping, he worried that he'd left something behind or that something had fallen out of his basket on the way home. And when he got home and discovered that he hadn't left anything behind and that nothing had fallen out of his basket on the way home, he worried that he'd bought too much. And then he worried about where to put it all. Life was just one long worry for poor Mr. Worry. One day, he went for a walk. He was worried that he might walk too far and not be able to get home. But, on the other hand, he was worried that if he didn't walk far enough, he wouldn't get enough exercise. He hurried along worrying. Or, you could say, he worried along hurrying. He met Mr. Bump. "Hey, I'm very worried about you," he said. "Why's that?" asked Mr. Bump. "I'm worried that one of these days you might hurt yourself," he said. "Don't you worry your head about that," replied Mr. Bump, and went off, tripping over his own feet. Mr. Worry went on. He met Mr. Nosy. "Hey, I'm very worried about you," he said. "Why's that?" asked Mr. Nosy. "Well, I'm worried that you might lose your voice," said Mr. Worry. "Don't you worry your head about that," said Mr. Nosy, and went off. Clump, 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 clump. Mr. Worry went on. He met Mr. Greedy. "Hey, I'm very worried about you," he said. "Oh, why's that?" asked Mr. Greedy. "Well, I'm worried that you might eat too much and be sick," explained Mr. Worry. "Me?" replied Mr. Greedy. "Eat too much? Oh, impossible." And he went off for lunch. Mr. Worry went on. He met a wizard. "Hello," said the wizard. "Who are you?" "I'm Mr. Worry." "And you look it," commented the wizard. "I tell you what," he went on, for he was a helpful sort of wizard. "Why don't you go home and write down every single thing that you're worried about, and I'll make sure that none of these things will ever happen. And then you won't have anything to worry about, will you?" Mr. Worry smiled. It was the first time he'd smiled in a long time. In fact, it was the first time he'd smiled that year. He hurried home in great excitement. When he got home, he sat down to write out all the things that worried him. Every single thing. It was a long list. And then he went to bed and had the best night's sleep he'd had in years. The following morning, the wizard came round to collect Mr. Worry's list. "My goodness me," he said, when he saw the size of it. "However," he said, "leave it to me. I'll go off and make sure that none of these things will ever happen." And off he went. "Nothing to worry about now," he called over his shoulder. "Nothing at all." Mr. Worry heaved a sigh of relief. That day was the first day in Mr. Worry's life that he didn't have a single thing to worry about. And the next day, and the day after, and the day after that. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Mr. Worry didn't have a care in the world. But on Monday morning, he was a worried man. Oh, dear. What do you think was worrying him? Can you guess? He went to see the wizard. Oh, dear, said the wizard when he saw him standing on his doorstep. What's worrying you now? I'll tell you, said Mr. Worry. I'm worried because I don't have anything to worry about. And he went home to worry.